Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast number 123. This is your host Mitch.
And this is Michael.
Indeed. I don't know what to say after that generally. I usually try to come up with something, but I guess so this is what I came up with for today. What's going on, Mike?
That was clever.
No, it was stupid.
Oh, not a not a ton going on this side of the world. I don't feel great. I think I overexerted myself in the yard this last weekend, so I feel like death. But other than that,
stump grinding.
Some stump grinding, I've been filling holes like a porn star.
That's
not that funny.
I've got a side random note of the week that I've been like, do I even bring that up on the podcast? But I guess I'm going to bring it up.
Is it hole related?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I had to think about it there. I don't believe so. I don't know how I could spin that. I'm sure it could be spun that way, but probably not. Anyway, geez. See, I was something wrong with my brain. All right. So, my son, look, I'm not one of those parents that is ever going to project anything on my kid. They're like, oh, my son really likes blah, blah, blah. And the kid's like, I couldn't care less, I'm never going to be one of those parents, but my son genuinely loves metal, listening to metal to the point where I'm sometimes I just want to listen to the news when I'm in my car, but he's like, I want to listen to metal, and he literally he will throw a fit if I don't put metal on in the car. So I guess that's cool. It is cool. So I've been listening to a lot of Liquid Metal, the station on Sirius XM.
Yeah, I'm aware. No, I don't have it, but I'm aware.
All right. Anyway, so sometimes a lot of what I've noticed on there, and I'm going to sound like an old grump or some shit like that right now, but I feel like I have a valid point to some extent. But I don't even know if I like metal nowadays, new metal nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Everything seems, at least everything on that particular station. Maybe I'm listening to the wrong stuff, but it seems like everything on there is hard metal, and then it's now I'm gonna sing with my pretty voice.
Yeah, that sucks. I hate that shit.
It's fucking everything, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That shit's stupid.
It's worked before. I've seen it work where I really actually liked it, but
not every single popular song. It's like that. Every metal. Well, that's just fucking music in 2018, though, right? People find the recipe and then everybody copies it and go, okay, this is the template for a metal song.
It's like emo metal. It's terrible, dude. So anyway, isn't that a bitch though? I'm my son listens to metal and I'm I don't approve of it.
Yeah, man.
But no, I do. And whenever Pantera comes on, I'm Pantera's done it before too, but that's not what that's not how you identify
it's
Pantera.
Cool. It's cool in in moderation, right?
Yeah.
If it adds something, but it's there's entire bands and albums that are just around that entire thing, and it's all right, you heard them once, you hear them, you hear one, you hear them all. It's annoying. But yeah, I'm sure part of it, I'm if there's fans of new metal, we probably sound like Get Off My Lawn, Old Man, whatever.
Well, yeah, and look, I like a lot of albums that do incorporate that, but say for Opeth, the album Deliverance is one of the best albums ever of any genre in my opinion. I really like Kill Switch Engage, Alive or Just Breathing.
Yeah.
But and I like Pantera obviously, but it's imagine
but I think those bands, specifically Opeth, came out before I think everybody did it, right? I think they were kind of pioneers and did it the right way, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of people,
Not even. They just eventually changed into that at some point, and it really, really worked, Yeah. But I liken it to if you went to a gas station and say there's some guy in front of you that gets up to the counter and orders is all right, I need a pack of filterless Lucky Strikes or some shit, and you're that's a fucking man right there, And then all of a sudden he's And why don't you go ahead and give me the bubblegum flavored one or some shit? And it's like, what? No, that doesn't work. I don't know. But anyways, it's like, no, that's not, I don't know.
I feel you. Well, it was funny because you texted me this weekend about Megadeth on a different side note about.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what the hell was it? Countdown to Extinction? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, because
I basically texted you early just to preface it. I was like, you know what? I think I realized this week I don't like that album at all. Like, I really don't like it, even though it was my first introduction to Megadeth.
I'm not quite on that level. I'm not quite on that level, but I was listening through some Megadeth, and it's hands down my least favorite Megadeth album. I'll tell you that right now. Nothing. It just.
What about Risk?
That doesn't really count.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I haven't listened to that one enough to even rank it. But
worthy.
But then it's funny because like Euthanasia, which isn't really a traditional Megadeth album by any stretch either, which is kind of like the bubblegum flavored cigarettes. I love still, right? So it's kind of the same thing.
I gotcha. And kids nowadays are probably like, I have nostalgia, down the road are going to say, I have nostalgia. And I can't shit on that, but I'm just saying, like, my son probably, but I don't know, just a completely random thought that I'm like, why do I not like this?
I feel you.
And I have other thoughts, but I'm not going to put them on this podcast right now. That is just a random thought just to get us warmed up for the week, I guess.
No, we do that. I mean, outside of video games during the week, there's usually at least a music topic or two that we run into. And so, I said it, and I won't take too much time. I went back after I texted you yesterday or Saturday, whatever it was, and said, because I got all the Motley Crue albums on vinyl, and I'd been listening to all of them, but then every time I put Dr. Feelgood on, I'm like, I fucking just don't want to listen to Dr. Feelgood again. And so I went back and I was like, I still like it, but maybe I've just listened to it too much. And ironically, I think my favorite Motley Crue records now today that I listen to the most are Too Fast for Love and Saints of Los Angeles. So, chew on that one.
I will. So, and like, look, I like lots of genres of music. There's probably some people that are like, they're shitting on metal, and that guy likes Motley Crue. Yeah, we like different kinds of music. I'm just saying. I
was jamming to Nelly literally the other day. I don't know if people look.
Of course you were.
Of course I was, but I'm saying like that doesn't really count. I know to a lot of people's music, but I listen to tons of shit that nobody likes probably. So I'm not crapping on anybody's taste in music.
I'm just saying for like a liquid metal for like a station that's like supposed to be like super metal and shit like that. It's like. I hear a lot of awesome, like, guitar solos and shit and all this stuff. But then there's that one thing that I was just like, that's not what I want, or that's not what I expect from this particular type of music,
Yeah.
Like fucks with my expectations. But I must say this too. Why the fuck is Dee Snider still relevant in music? I'm sorry.
He is?
Yeah, well, he's on there. Like, they just had a thing with him. He just came out with this metal album and stuff, and he's like this expert on metal and stuff. How? Why? Like, look, don't get me wrong. I don't want to get body slammed by the guy. I've seen what happens to people that fuck with him. But I don't understand. I'm like, Dee Snider is like, I don't know, man.
Well, he seems pretty self-aware because apparently, like, 6 days ago, he said that Twisted Sister shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm like, you're fucking right, they shouldn't. But
are they?
I don't know if they are or not, but at the same time,
that just put the question in people's heads: should they be? No, that's not going to happen.
At the same time, though, there are some people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where you go, "What the fuck are you doing in here?"
Oh, I'm sure, probably half of them.
Oh.
But anyway, that's our old curmudgeon, like fuddy-duddy garbage for now. I'm sure there are people that want to like fucking Dee Snider body slam us.
Yeah, then I'm going to make one more quick statement. So you remember when we were young and we were like, someday we're going to get old and we're going to be listening to gangster rap at like stoplights and shit. Well, I wasn't quite listening to gangster rap, but I was listening to some Terror Squad because it came up on my Google Play or whatever. And so I'm at the stoplight like the other day and I'm jamming to Lean Back, and I was getting down with it. I haven't heard it for a while, so I was clowning a little bit, and then I look to my left again, and I see kids watching me, and I kind of did the, like, I'm getting to the point now where I actually stopped doing the stupid-ass thing that I was doing. I used to not care, but now I'm kind of like, oh, boy.
You used to do the Fred Durst thing where you're like moving the steering wheel, like the rolling thing or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't even have your hand on the steering wheel.
I retired all of my red baseball caps, but I may break them back out.
Oh. Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh God! Yeah, 10 minutes. You guys, everybody is welcome. 10 minutes of music talk from Mitch and Mike. You're listening to 93.7 The Drive with Mitch and Mike. This is Liquid Metal.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Anyway, so we actually have some real stuff, video game related
video
stuff.
Video games.
Lots of stuff. Oh. Do you mind if I get the Pinball League stuff out of the way before we get into it?
I'm interested to hear about this because you'd mentioned it and you haven't told me anything about it. What? Get it out.
Well, so there's been 2 weeks. We haven't done a podcast in 2 weeks. And maybe a week or so ago, I had put out a thing on the local email thing that was like, hey, does anybody have any bombed out playfields? And I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was drunk. And I was like, well, I need more projects, which I clearly don't. So these local people who I've known them. I haven't really, we really haven't talked much, but I've known them for years, sort of. I've known of them for years. They've known of me for years. But they ended up having a storage unit full of like 70 playfields from like 79 to 82, which is exactly the area I was looking for. So I'm going to keep this part really short. But I went and checked out the storage unit. It was freaking glorious. Apparently, Marco Specialties. They're really good friends with the Marco from Marco Specialties, believe it or not. But he had I guess he had leased some church or something and for years and had all these parts and pinball playfields and stuff like that. And eventually the people who owned the building wanted to do something else with it. So he had to get all the stuff out of there. Well, anyway, so they're good friends with him. So they ended up getting a couple storage units and blah, 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 blah. So I got some playfields from them. That was cool. And then they were like, hey, why don't you come to the Chattahoochee Pinball League, which is there's two pinball league, like that I know of in town. There's the Atlanta Pinball League, which is the big one. That's the one where everybody's ranked and blah, blah, blah. I don't think I can handle all the competitiveness with those people.
Yeah.
But Chattahoochee Pinball League is like, let's drink some beer and, compete, but we're not serious about it. They're like, most of the time we get through like 3 matches and then we're like, let's go drink some beers and talk about whatever,
Right.
So I was like, yes, I knew of it and I'd been wanting to try to get it. So this last weekend, Saturday was a perfect time. So I went up there and good times. Their collection was amazing. And you know what? There were 10 matches. We ended up going through all 10 matches. And on the 9th match, I'm like 7-2. I'm like, dude, I've been killing everybody. Or if I wasn't killing on people on like machines I didn't know well, they were worse than I was. So like that helped. So anyways, I'm sitting there on match 9, 7-2. I'm tied for first place. And like, I don't think anybody else is close. So I'm pretty proud of myself. So we go to match 10. And I just get waxed. Like, I just got destroyed. There's a Total Nuclear Annihilation, which I brought up a couple times on this by Spooky Pinball, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. That game does not like me. So I just got annihilated, no pun intended. And so I ended up with second place. But since the first place guy was the guy that lives there and was providing the grand prize and stuff and owns all the machines, I got to take home first prize, which was a new old stock back glass for a game called Alley Cats from Williams, which I'm like, I've never even heard of that. So I'm patting myself on the back. I thought for sure I'd be vying for the bottom spot. But yeah, one of the games, like we were playing Avengers and like everybody was done and I was just still playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to stop the game. Let's just be done. And because I already, just
you don't want to rub it in too much.
No, I was just like, all right, everybody's over there waiting for me to be done with this game, and I seriously could probably play it for another half an hour.
Is it so the back glass was that Alley Cats with a K?
I don't know, to be honest. I did not look at it. It's still in my car. It's sitting in my car.
That was an inside joke for me and you, Mitch.
Yeah, exactly. But
I found it. I was looking at the back glass to see if it was actually pretty cool or not. It's got, tell me if this is the one. It's got some cats on it that are playing bowling.
Probably.
And they're rolling like lettuce, a head of lettuce into empty beer bottles in basically an alley. So they're playing bowling in an alley with beer bottles, and they're rolling a head of lettuce.
I couldn't even tell you. It's still in my car right next to. They made me take when I bought a couple playfields from them because I got a Xenon and a Belly Strikes and Spares, but awesome. They made me take a new old stock Arch Rivals marquee as well.
That's kind of neat. At least Arch Rivals,
which is cool.
Yeah.
They have hundreds of them, but I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that. I don't want that. So, I mean, I don't want it, but I'll take it. I was like, okay. So, that's anyway. Funny. Long story short, I had to brag on myself. I almost got first place. Which was surprising. I didn't know I was but I'll tell you this, because I'm like, I'm not really that competitive, because I'm really not for the most, I think. But when I got in there, when we were in the match play and stuff like that, I'm like, because normally when I'm like playing pinball with somebody, I'm just like talking to them and not even paying attention. I was like super focused. I was like, damn it, I'm going to win this. And you know what? I think when I apply myself, I'm like, okay at playing pinball. But anyway, it was fun. It doesn't matter. But that's it. That's what I was going to say about that. I wanted to squeeze that in there to pat myself on the back and say, you know what? I'm amazing. That's it. So,
you are.
I'm amazing.
You know what's the exact opposite of amazing?
What?
Zelda Breath of the Wild.
So, Mike sent me Zelda Breath of the Wild, and after listening to you talk about it for so long, I'm just like, okay, I'll play it, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten I probably got about 8 hours.
Oh,
into
I thought
it.
you were going to come in and say, I've got about 80 hours into it.
Oh, I probably do. I'm just, I don't know how. I haven't really, well, I'll say I've got enough time into it to really kind of get an idea of what it's really like. And, I got to be honest, I don't like it.
Wait.
I love it!
Ah, you son of a gun there, Mitch.
But in all honesty,
sandbagging son of a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. In all honesty, though, I probably wouldn't rate it a 10.
Well, okay. So
I'd rate it a fucking 15, motherfucker.
So let me get this one. Let me get this out of the way first before we start talking about it, because
pause didn't work out as well the second time.
I want to.
No, because you started trampling all over it. I was like, nope.
I trampled all over your touchdown call. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Pete Burchett.
Jesus Christ, the Minneapolis Miracle call from PA. I don't like PA, but that was completely ruined because like they need to have a dump button on that stupid asshole. Anyway, God. Anyway.
Nobody else gives a shit about what we just said.
Well, no one does. Well, there's some people in Minneapolis that know exactly what we're talking about. Anyway, so let me get this out of the way before we start talking about Breath of the Wild, because I went hard into my criticisms of the game because it seemed like nobody was surprise.
I've got a lot of questions for you
because it didn't seem like there was anybody willing, and I'm going to cover this in my turning in my Nintendo fan card, which I'm still going to do this episode. It didn't seem like there was anybody willing to talk about the criticisms in a way that was actually helpful, right? So I went really hard into my criticisms of the game, and I think I've been back and forth. I love it, I hate it, I love it, I hate it. The truth is, I think it's a good game, even a great game, but I'm not on this is a masterpiece, this is the greatest Zelda game I've ever played, this is the greatest game I've ever played. That's not where I'm at, and I'll explain that in a little bit after we get into it, because I have an idea where this is going to go.
Okay, so yeah, at the back and forth stuff, so especially right when you got it, because I'm like, I guess there's still time for me to fall into that as well, whatever you didn't like about it, but I'm like, you loved it at first, you were like, This is fucking phenomenal. Yep. What did you like about it?
So actually, let me also say this real quick before I answer that. the conversation we're about to have is kind of the conversation I had with one of my other buddies, another Mike, who he got it and was like, I don't like it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't like it. And then I started to not like it for the same reasons. So what I loved about it at first was, and it was finally a Zelda game that just dropped you in, right? And it said, here is Hyrule, and it's open. Go.
No story.
Go.
I mean, to begin with, they were just like, there was no, story leading up to it. It was just like, you're there.
Literally no story. And so I went, okay, this is phenomenal. And in your imagination, it brought me back to some of that nostalgia feeling of video games when I was younger, of like just this imagination of like, what is out there? What is in this world? What can I do? What am I going to experience? And I just started running and playing it and picking stuff up and climbing mountains and all of those just great explorative things that you are allowed to do in the game. And just, there's so many unknowns of like, okay, I can do cooking, or I can do, what does this mean? What am I going to use this for? How do I solve this puzzle, right? A lot of environmental stuff. All of these things were hitting all of the notes that I like in kind of an exploration open world video game. And being Nintendo, it had a lot of polish. And so I really loved that aspect of it. To kind of keep it simple, right? And so, I mean, in short, that's what really I liked about it, right? It really spoke to kind of this investigative exploration type stuff that I hadn't experienced in any other, well, in a Nintendo game for quite some time. And so that was really refreshing.
Okay. So on the other hand, what made you start hating it?
What ended up making me started hating it, and this is where I don't think you're going to hit it, was, and it took me a while because I was trying to savor it, but once I really started to see the elements that the game was made of, it started to annoy me, because it took a lot of elements from other it took a lot of elements from other video games that I've already seen done better, or I've already done a million other times. And I know what people are probably screaming right now. It's not about the elements, it's about the recipe and how they all come together. But for me, once I started seeing all the towers that I had to climb to unlock parts of the map, I was like, I don't want to fucking unlock these towers anymore. I've done that time and time again. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things in every Assassin's Creed game that people just shit on over and over. And in Zelda, I now have to do it over and over, and I don't like it. I don't like it in Assassin's Creed. I don't like it in Zelda. But for Nintendo fans, people are like, oh, it's so good in Zelda. I'm like, no, it's actually not. Another example, the crafting. When I started with hey, I can put together some spicy peppers and some apples and get a concoction that lets me keep my whatever, right? I don't know if you've done that yet, but then all of a sudden you can kind of go into the cold for longer. Right. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Okay, where's this thing going to go? And then the more that I did that, I found myself just going like, okay, I've done crafting before in other video games. Skyrim, for example, which has one of the most in-depth crafting systems of all time. I know that that's not for most people and probably a turnoff for people that maybe don't like Skyrim and want something a little more accessible in Zelda. But I was like, if I'm going to do a crafting system, I'd rather have a good one. And this just doesn't feel like a good one. Then the explorative nature of like, I got a bunch of weapons that I like. And then my weapons kept breaking over and over. And like that actually got really annoying to me. There was aspects of the stamina bar where eventually, and I know they had to use the stamina meter to gate off certain areas of the map. If you could just had max stamina all the time, there'd be places you could access that you probably shouldn't access right away. And I just got so sick of that stupid fucking stamina meter that every heart and everything that I got, I would put it in stamina. And then so that started to lead me into, okay, I'm doing 1 billion of these dungeons. None of these dungeons are connected anyway. None of these dungeons have a reason for me to do them other than to get a heart. None of these dungeons are tied to a story. So
or a spirit thing.
Yeah, spirit orb, yeah. And so now, basically, Hyrule has become a overworld for me to access mini puzzles. So now the game for me just turned into a collection of mini puzzles and environmental puzzles. And now Zelda's always kind of been that. But when there's fucking 120 of these dungeons and I'm just doing them because I hate my stamina meter and there's no carrot in front of me for any reason that I'm actually doing the dungeons, there's no story driving me to the dungeons. Literally, I'm just playing, a puzzle simulator. And I've played puzzle games that do environmental puzzles better than this game does it. And it was just all of these things started to wear out on me. And so then I'm like, all right, well, then I'm going to go back and try to finish the fucking game. And that's when I went back to the dungeons and the divine beasts. And I had a good time with those. But overall, it was like those 4 or 5 things just wore on me to the point where I went, by the end of it, I was like, I'm so glad this is over. And like I don't know how much more you want me to go into it, but I mean, every story beat was, all the story beats were just kind of singular, unless it was like, a multi, like I don't want to say too much because I'll spoil something, but every story beat seemed really, one note and held into its own little bubble. Like, hey, go do this for me. All right. And then I'd go do it. And it's like, here's some rupees. And I'm like, cool. And I was expecting some more shit tied together of like, here's your thing. And they're like, oh, awesome. By the way, continue this quest by going to talk to this person. And that rarely happened for me. And I was just like, God, this thing is just, an inch deep and a mile wide. And I'm just not having fun with it anymore.
Yeah, I think those are all, it's subjective, definitely.
It is.
Like, I understand in your case, like, your set of circumstances caused you to feel that way. That sounds totally legit. I don't feel that way, but I mean, which is fine too.
And I don't think you will, actually, to be honest.
I probably won't. I'm a big fan of, I would say I'm a big fan of Zelda games in general. I missed Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. I missed those 2. I had Twilight Princess, but I missed Skyward Sword. Which ones have you played like all the way through recently?
Oh, well,
I mean, not recently, but
yeah,
I'd say 20 some years.
So I never finished Wind Waker. I got close to that. So this might be part of it. I'm not the world's biggest Zelda fan, but I haven't finished Ocarina, but I got close enough. Link to the Past, I beat it. A Link Between Worlds, I beat it. Twilight Princess, I beat it. First Zelda, I beat it, obviously. The Skyward Sword, I started it and got like 20 hours into that and it was just exhausting. Name some other Zelda games.
Twilight. So you said Twilight Princess, you beat it?
I did beat Twilight Princess, and actually, I really enjoyed Twilight Princess.
Okay, yeah. Majora's Mask, like
nope. I've never even put Majora's Mask. And yeah, I played a bunch of Adventures of.
I mean, those are kind of no, not Zelda 2 is a bigger part or whatever, but there's a lot of smaller ones. Yeah. So I get the picture at least.
So I played enough Zelda to have an opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to discredit you at all by saying that. I'm just trying to say one of the things that you said is that you're not a huge fan of like basically the mechanics of a Zelda game.
Not always. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. To me, like as soon as I jumped into this, my first thought on it was like, oh my God, holy shit, this is like so much work, But I was like, it didn't take long to get like really sucked into it. It's a freaking Zelda game. Like it totally, to me, it just feels like a Zelda game. Like I got the impression, I guess I wrongly, because you didn't elaborate, which I appreciate at the time, because you're like, I don't want to spoil anything for you, and by elaborating now, or maybe spoiling it for people, but whatever.
Well, I think I didn't spoil any story beats. I mean, these are open criticisms that I have about the game. And
no, I think you handled it well.
So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, so I didn't know anything except you're like, I don't like it. It's like there's no story, blah 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 blah. So I was expecting like completely different from just a typical Zelda game. But for me, it's a Zelda game, but like a massive Zelda game. You know what I'm saying? Like it totally feels like a Zelda game. Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, like that style. It totally feels like one of those games. And there's always little side quests that you can take on, like throwing the chickens and like the cuckoos and the guys, finding them and crap like that. I'm like, I never am into that stuff. I don't even bother, I especially like, but anyway, I didn't realize that there was actually like, cause I had gotten the impression that there was no story and I was like, shit, well, I don't know what to do with that. So, that I was like, cause again, as far as gamers go, I believe you said this before where you're not really as into like big cinematic sequences and stories and all that.
Which you'd think this would be perfect for me,
But so, anyways, there is a story, and it's a compelling story so far. I think it's great.
So let me ask you what the story is because I finished it and I still have the opinion that there isn't a story.
Do you want me to put these?
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's say we're gonna talk about some story beats. Been out for a while. I actually complained about this on the internet about people doing spoilers and not actually giving a fair enough warning. So there's going to be spoilers about the story coming up. I'm going to give it like another 10 or 15 seconds. So there's going to be spoilers about Zelda. You're listening right now. Turn down, pause it, do whatever you need to do. Spoilery.
If you pause it and hit play again, you're probably going to run into the spoilers though.
Yeah, pause it. I will put it in the show notes when the spoilers start and end as well. So
there you go.
Anyway, all right. So we're good enough.
So anyway, like I'm really interested in the Zelda canon in general. Like it makes no fucking sense. Like the whole canon does, and Nintendo kind of shoehorned it together, which still doesn't make any fucking sense. There being like separate timelines and so on. It doesn't matter. I don't even give a shit about the canon to be honest. Well, okay, I did the whole Charlie Murphy thing, like, where he's anyway, no, I don't give a shit that it isn't exactly in there, but I tried to look for like, that was really compelling for me at the beginning too. I was like, what is this after? Is this after it really seemed like at first until I get further into the story that it was like Ocarina of Time.
So they came out and said where it exists just last week.
Oh, really?
In the timeline. This takes place like 1,000 years after the timeline of Ocarina if Link is defeated by Ganon.
Defeated. That's what I thought. That was my initial thought. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Because the whole that whole thing too, it's like, hearing the story about like, 100 years ago, basically Link was defeated and Ganon just took over Hyrule and left it in ruins and so on. That was cool. I was like, that's awesome. That's like some, really depressing shit, especially if you've played through the, all of Ocarina of Time and all that. So basically the storyline is, it's you've been resurrected. Zelda's for the last 100 years somehow been, I don't quite get that yet, somehow been fighting Ganon in the castle or something for like the last 100 years by herself. And essentially there were 10,000 years ago, they built 4 of these divine beasts or whatever that were piloted by, people from different, like the Gorons and the, whatchamacallit, like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but no, that's
the other ones. Yeah, I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
But
anyway, but each one of, there was a person from each of their tribes or whatever that piloted each one of these divine beasts. Essentially, 100 years ago, they're like, well, we know the prophecy. We're going to try to cut this off before it happens, like with Ganon. And apparently, like, it's still pretty vague for me because I'm not really that far in. But
so
basically,
all
Ganon,
of that's awesome. That's a really good setup to any Zelda game when you go, wow, this story is going to be fucking amazing.
Right.
I mean, this is where I don't want to spoil anything for you, but
I think it's better if you just err on the side of caution.
Yeah. So, I loved everything about what you just explained, and I think those story beats were great. When it was set up strong from Jump Street, really, I went, man, this is right up my alley. Unfortunately, I was left wanting more elaboration on those story beats. And again, I don't have the lore in the canon, education or whatever that you do on it. So I will be genuinely curious to see what you say, because maybe there were dots that didn't connect for me throughout the story that would connect us for somebody that's closer to, Zelda as a franchise. But for me, there wasn't enough there for me to actually connect dots that I was hoping to connect. But it might have been that I just didn't have the background to be able to connect those dots.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, well, that's cool. I love the whole divine beast thing. Like when you see them on the horizon, or if you're on the top of a mountain, say, for example, I saw the camel one moving by, you're like, what the fuck is that moving through the clouds, and this huge, monstrosity. It's like, that is amazing, Or if you look in the sky and you see in the horizon, what the hell is that? And then zoom in, and it's like the flying one or whatever. That's super cool. And kind of I don't know. I'm really sucked in, man. I have to say this. You totally fucked me over on this one, because now I can't do anything else. I'm playing that game constantly.
So have you... Oh, go ahead.
Another, I was going to say that it side note here, this thought crossed my mind as well. Personally, and look, I'm not that far into the game. I know that. And, I got it a couple days ago. So the fact that I have as many hours as I am right now is actually pretty pathetic in my world. But, but I just haven't been sleeping. But I feel like Mario I didn't like it because it seemed like they didn't put enough effort into the story, the main mode, I guess. And it's not necessarily just about the story. It's the game wasn't fun in the main mode to me. And Zelda, on the other hand, I feel like is just a total Zelda game, but it's so far it feels like it's blown up, it's super souped up. And I can see that obviously they've been working on this so detailed. For me at least, I'm there are a lot of things that I see details from some of the other games, especially Ocarina of Time, and even the original Zelda, where I'm that's really clever because this is a part of the map from that, or it's alluding to that,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're incredibly detailed on that. I felt like Mario's main mode was sloppy, so I don't know.
Right. Well, I'm curious to see how it progresses for you, because my biggest thing was, once I was far enough into it to quit and then pick it back up, I was like, I get it. I see why people like it. I enjoy it. There's some fun stuff to it. There was some stuff I didn't like, much at all. Mm-hmm. But I think as far as games go, I'm glad I played it. I enjoyed it. I certainly wouldn't give it a 10 from where I sit, just based on my criticisms. But I can see how Zelda fans would. But my biggest complaint, and this is why I went so hard into the criticisms, was I was just trying to have a conversation like we're having with other Zelda fans on the fucking internet. Was I would have rather stabbed myself in the face, because no one could ever, other than you and one other person, a couple other people on the internet, I couldn't find anybody that would just be willing to say, I understand your criticisms, but I don't have those same criticisms. And I would have went, fair enough. Instead, it turned into, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, well, that's not really that's not a fair take. I'm not discrediting anybody's love for the game. What I was saying, though, is it seems weird to me that of 114 reviews or something, there was 2 that scored it under a 93 or something. I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good representation of a gamer base, unless you're only giving the game to review to Nintendo fans, which is fair. I could see that, but I'm just going like, where is the voice that represents where I'm coming from? And I know for a fact that it wasn't just two people because I listened to enough podcasts that said the same fucking things as I did, but I couldn't find a review that represented it. So I think people took that as me saying all of these people's reviews are invalid because it's so many 10s. And I'm saying, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is I would like representation from somewhere else that is better aligns with my views. And I think people would say, well, why do you give a shit? I don't know, because I'm interested in the video game industry. And
because you're a gamer.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, because I like to read about shit. And sometimes you go, let me see what other people are saying. I've read everybody that I don't align with. Let me find somebody that maybe is a little bit more in line with me, right? So
and it's not like you just came in there and were like, you know,
fuck Zelda, right?
Uneducated, like, well, that was fucking bullshit, blah blah blah, or something. You had like obvious, you know, if they're from a hardcore gamer's perspective as far as that goes. I get it, you know, I get it. But I'm also a Zelda fan, so I think I'm a huge Zelda fan. I always have been, so I think that might tilt it a different direction for me, but I get it.
Probably, but that's where I would ask.
I'm open to criticizing stuff I don't like about it too. You know, like I don't give a fuck. I don't work for Nintendo. You know.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm. You know.
Yeah, well, that's where I'd ask you this, because this is my question: is if you just said I'm a Nintendo fan, so I'm probably gonna you're gonna review it as such, and
oh, I'm a Zelda fan.
Yeah. So, but let me ask this: if you were
not necessarily Nintendo, but
is there a difference? Do you have a obligation as a video game critic to review it as a video game critic instead of a Zelda fan?
No, I would review it as a critic. I mean, if there are genuinely...
And is it different, right? Because that's where I go, I don't know if it's different, because in one way you're disservicing your Zelda fan audience if you cut it down the middle, but I feel like if you're going to be a video game critic, you can't just ignore the criticisms you might have because you're a Zelda fan. I feel like you need to play it both ways and not leave out some of those criticisms.
No, I'm fully open to criticizing anything I don't like. I really am, and I'm not like fanboy status where I'm like, I'm not. I love Zelda games, but I would not say that I'm a fanboy that is like on forums all the time talking about like Zelda lore. I think it fascinates me. I love it, but as far as the game goes, I could be critical because I don't have the time to. Look, I don't have the 700 hours it's going to take to get through this, but I'm going to get through it. So, either I'm definitely like, look, I did it with Mario. I love Mario games. I always have loved Mario games, but I can call a spade when I don't like something,
Yeah. So I'm curious with this one because one of the biggest complaints as people got further into it was it didn't respect the player's time. And I think that depends on where you're coming from because I
could see that.
I felt like it didn't respect my time and it pissed me off to no end. But if you're a fan, I don't know if it's going to be as prevalent, but we'll have to see, I guess. Because
I get that. So far, I've spent an ungodly amount of time. Sometimes just I don't know. I don't even know what I've been doing. But I can say this: that it doesn't feel like a chore yet. At this point, Mario was a complete chore. Mario was a chore from the beginning, from the onset, until the actual storyline ended with Mario, and then I was like, I love this, So right now it is not a chore. It is an absolute delight. I hate to sound like an idiot by saying that particular word, but I can't think of anything else that would work with it. I love it. I think I like it's the most, I don't know. I can't believe how I love the art style. I love the, mainly the art style. The music's fine. The sound effects are fine. All that shit. I don't really care. In this particular case, they don't overdo it on any of them, on either of those things. But the art style is really intriguing, and that newness wears off at some point, which it already is worn off. Where I'm not like, oh my god, look at that or look at that. It just is at this point, Mm-hmm. But I think so far.
It's a beautiful game. I mean, it is stunning looking,
and I can't wait to get to the Divine Beasts at some point when I can actually I got like 5-6 hearts right now or something. So I don't have enough of any of that stuff, but I can't wait to get to some of that stuff because just the feeling when you see one of them in the distance and stuff is really, I'm just like really immersed in the game where I'm like, that's fucking amazing, So, I might change my mind. I reserve the right to, but so far I'm really enjoying it. So
good,
really enjoying it. Actually, way too much. Where I have other shit to do, and I'm not doing those things right now. I'm putting them on hold for like a month.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's a good conversation because I haven't been able to have this conversation with anybody else. So
yeah, I was just like, why didn't you say so, dude? I didn't know what your gripes were at all about it, but I get it.
Well, I didn't want to shit on it too much with you going into it. I am really curious to see what holds up for you and what doesn't, knowing the rest of the game. Like I said, I don't think listening to you that you're going to have the same gripes that I did, but I am curious to see because I want to have that conversation with you because, again, I can't have it with anybody else, and we know each other's gaming tastes and habits better than anybody, probably than ourselves at times, and so that's why I'm curious to see as you go through, because there's few voices on the internet that I trust games-wise, but from a, personal standpoint, like the conversations that we have, like that's kind of, stone for me. So it's like I'm curious to see how it plays out, and maybe you'll bring different perspective that I didn't have, much like Galaxy or Odyssey, and I'll go, okay, let me give this a second try, or let me jump into it, right? Because the divine beasts are only, really, if you really get into the game, are a big part of the experience, but there's so much else, so many other things to do that it's not the only experience. So.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, there are more than enough things to experience in the game. I just love some of the random stuff that kind of like, like the dragons that just fly by. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I was
going to ask if you saw those. Yeah.
I've seen, I think 2 of them. One shot out lightning and one shot out fire. So I think.
Have you done anything with them?
No, I don't know what to do.
Will
I know what to do?
Yeah.
Intuitively, or should I look it up?
Well, I wouldn't look it up. There is, so you could potentially come across a story beat on some of them that kind of allude to what you need to do.
Okay. Could or will?
Could. But I'll tell you what, I just jumped on one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dope.
I took an afternoon trying to jump on one and got on one and was like, I'm gonna so that kind of shit was some of the stuff I loved about it, right? I'm gonna jump on one of these dragons and see what happens. And sure as shit, I made it onto one of those MFers and some shit happens.
Awesome.
So I would recommend jumping. I don't know if it would be eventually you just get fed up and go, I don't know what to do. I'm going to jump on one of these things. And then later is when I found out there actually is a story beat, but I was actually Googling a different thing and then came across go here for this. And I was like, oh, I just jumped on the effing thing.
I can see that. No, I love all the just mystery so far in it. I think things like the storms are really cool. Sometimes
those make me want to kill myself too.
Really? Oh, no. The storms are not cool because you have them every 5 seconds. That part sucks.
I've gotten stuck in so many places that I was exploring because the storms seemed to happen every time I wanted to climb the freaking wall to get out of where I was at.
Yeah. That doesn't stop me that many times, but I thought the lightning, it might just be around the Temple of Time or the, whatchamacallit, where the lightning was just hitting right next to you, and then it was just crazy, So that was super cool. I thought that was awesome. Generally, it's always raining in that game. That sucks. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I wish you could not have that, but yes. I wish they would at least be okay, well, sometimes it's raining and it's a special thing when it rains or something. But no, it's that's the norm. It's really rainy in Hyrule.
Yeah.
There's a criticism for you. I don't like that.
If I remember correctly, there are some instances where it's I was happy it was raining because you needed it to do some other stuff. Where you're I'm glad it rains every 5 minutes because I need it to rain right now.
Right.
But other than that, I don't know. Overall, my general impressions were that anytime I started to have a ton of fun, Nintendo was fun police, and we're like, nope, now it's gonna rain. Nope, now your sword's gonna break. Nope, now you don't have enough stamina. Nope, now you don't have enough hearts. Not like it for all of the open world aspects of it, it just seemed like I was always gated from having too much fun. That's what I feel. Well, that's what I feel like. I don't know.
I'll keep an ear out for that. But so far I haven't run into any of that. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know as we go. I'm sure I'll be at least. You know what? I'm probably going to be like 60 hours into it by next week. Yeah, so we'll see. Anyway, which would be fucking pathetic. But I can see it happening. I haven't been getting any sleep lately.
Yeah.
Because like last night, I was like, "Oh fuck, it's like 10. I'm gonna go to bed." I was like, "I'm gonna play Zelda for a little bit."
It turns
fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I gotta go to bed. 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, fuck. How is it 2:30 in the morning?
Oh yeah, you forgot. You need to friend code me.
Oh yeah. I don't even know how to do that, but yes, we need to do that.
I'll text you my friend code after this.
All right.
All right. Well, anyway, good talk.
So yes, indeed, I like it. Actually, that was a really I get it. So tell me about this Nintendo card thing.
All right, after that conversation, I don't know if I want to go too hard into it, because I've already alluded to some of this stuff, and I don't want to be the Nintendo negative asshole all the time. But I've gotten through my experiences of owning the Switch, and if you can hear dogs barking, I'm sorry, Carrie just got home.
But your dogs are the ones that are barking. Yeah, that didn't come out right.
Yeah. Sorry. That's funny. Anyway, so anyway,
trying to save you there.
So the Switch comes out, and I've alluded to this in other podcasts, and we're now to the point where everybody wants everything on Switch. Everybody's willing to spend any type of money on any game on the Switch. Like Mario Tennis. So Mario Tennis comes out, it's $60. The game is garbage. It rates well, but everybody that bought it, reviews came out, and then they got into it and played it for like fucking at least 2 hours. Were like, this game is trash. Sells 1.3 million copies at $60. And I'm going like, this isn't a $60 game. And I've just gotten to the point where I like my Switch. I like Nintendo games. I don't have that undying Nintendo fandom that I used to have. I can't talk about Nintendo in that way. I can't justify their pricing in a lot of scenarios. I'm not willing to rate games good and ignore criticisms. I don't have it in me, Mitch.
I don't think you've ever been that way, though.
I bought every fucking game on the Wii U.
You did, and you bought like all the amiibos up to one point, but then you're like, fuck Nintendo. You know, you're always like, I want to love Nintendo, but I fucking hate them a lot of times.
A lot of times, right. And that goes in direct contrast with like this unwritten Nintendo fan club that's going on, where it's not okay to have an opinion that is, and this may be, some people may say, hey, you're exaggerating. I don't think I'm exaggerating. Like, there is just this Nintendo fan love that is back for the Switch that went away for the Wii U for whatever reason, even though it had piles of great games, that the Switch can't do anything wrong. I mean, fuck, Okami HD came out on the Switch the other day. It was $20, and someone was like, I'd pay $60 for a physical version of this on Switch. You mean a physical version that you could buy for the last 20 years on 80 other platforms? And you're willing, like, that's the problem. We shouldn't pay $60 for a physical copy of anything on any game, on any platform right now when it's a re-release, right? Like, there's just all of these little things. And like, ooh, they should re-release all the Sonic Generations or all the Sonic games on Switch. No, the fuck they shouldn't. They should release new games on the Switch. Like, I'm just so sick of, oh my God, it just irritates me to no end. I just don't have it in me anymore to just listen to it. I've just lost my patience for it.
Mm-hmm.
God, just, I get being a fan of something, but my God, it's like politics in a way. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there's just some people where you're not going to change their mind no matter how many good points you come up. I hear your frustration, and I think your frustration, especially with the Switch, comes from, obviously the Wii U. I don't think there's any debating that.
No, it does, 100%. I'll be transparent about that, but that's always I've done tons of tweets about this, about, Nintendo fan. Wii U is way too expensive. I'm not going to buy it. Same Nintendo fan spends $800 on Amiibo, right? Nintendo fan, there's, the marketing for the Wii U wasn't good enough. Same Nintendo fan waits in line for 3 hours to buy Mario fucking cereal, right? I'm just like, there's adults waiting in line for Nintendo toys and McDonald's Happy Meals, but y'all didn't. I don't understand it, man. I just don't get it. You buy a Nintendo console to play Nintendo games. That's the truth even with the Switch, and you're telling me there wasn't enough Nintendo games on the Wii U? And then everyone's like, well, it reviewed bad, blah, 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 blah. The marketing was poor. Okay, so you, hardcore Nintendo fan, didn't buy a Wii U because the commercials weren't good enough? Fuck off.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, Mitch.
Is that I can tell.
That's it.
I'm like, I don't even know what to say to that. I get it. So what pushed you over the edge?
Yeah, what did push me over the edge?
I mean, this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Specifically this time.
I think it was. It started with the Donkey Kong pricing. Is where it all started. It started with Donkey Kong on the Switch being a $20 game, which it was. Right, it was $60 on Wii U, but then it was $20 on Wii U. And then they delisted it so you couldn't even buy it digitally on the eShop. And then they sold it for $60 on the Switch. And then they did it with all like these they did it with Mario Kart, but you got some more stuff. But I just like that one pushed me over the edge. And I kind of came back to it and went, if any other company did this, they would be just destroyed, right? But every Nintendo fan goes, well, I didn't buy it the first time, so totally justified in spending $60 this time. And my point was, if Sony re-released all of the Uncharted games on PS4 when they were on PS3 and they charged $180 for the 3-pack instead of $60 for the 3-pack, people would lose their shit. They wouldn't go, well, I didn't buy them the first time. If The Last of Us came out on PS4 and it came out on PS4 for $50, so $10 below, but it came out with all the DLC and a ton of enhancements because it was the PS4. If that came out at $60 and was the same game and wasn't enhanced, people would lose their shit. But Nintendo has a slightly more powerful console on the Switch. They're re-releasing all of their Wii U games on it for full fucking price. And everybody's like, well, I didn't pay full price for it the first time because I wasn't a big enough Nintendo fan to buy it on Wii U. But goddamn, this is a great game. But man, if Nintendo just had better commercials, fuck off. Sick of it.
Yeah, the thing with Nintendo, though, let's not forget, Nintendo as a company, they are not saints. They never have been. They've always been, like, bottom line bastards. Actually, absolute bastards, especially 100%. At the beginning. When it came to the, the competition between the Master System and the Nintendo or the NES. Nintendo is cutthroat, man. They've always been cutthroat. They've always been like, give me my fucking money. But I will say this, the reason they can get away with it is because they've had some fucking amazing games. Yep. And they had like eventually people are going to be clamoring for or maybe not. I don't know. Eventually are people going to be like, I'm fucking tired of Mario games. I'm tired of Zelda games. I'm tired of whatever. Can you give me something new? And I know Splatoon is a new franchise. But I mean, is it time for Nintendo to come out, stop riding on their previous franchises, or is it like they're going to get by with it forever?
I don't know. That answer, I don't know. I don't even know if I care. I think they should keep riding those franchises out. I love those franchises. What pisses me off, or what's mind-boggling to me is you said it. Nintendo doesn't give a shit about the consumer. They never have.
Oh, no. They never have. Let's not even pretend they do.
And to sit here and give a Nintendo a pass when they have more anti-consumer business practices than any other company in gaming, but everybody gives them a pass because it's Nintendo and we love their characters. It's okay to be critical of Nintendo and still love their characters. And that's why I'm going so hard. Maybe I'm going harder in the other direction than I think I actually feel, but I'm doing it to try to prove a point. Nintendo has never given a shit. Ever. Nintendo, they
number one.
They jump at opportunities. They are smart. They make a ton of money. They never sell anything at a loss. It's all smart business. I side on the side of business from that side all the time. I'm always siding on the side of business. Hell, I sided on the side of Nintendo with this emulator thing when everybody on the retro forums were like, they shut down websites. And I'm like, you're damn right they did, and they had every right to. I side with Nintendo on this stuff. What I don't side with is this talking out of both sides of people's mouths, fuck Ubisoft, fuck EA, fuck Sony, fuck, all of these different things, when you're mindlessly just throwing cash at the one of the, or historically the largest, most recognizable, most popular gaming company in the world, and they've got there by being shrewd businessmen, as we've said before. But don't sit here and try to sugarcoat it and justify every freaking thing that they do. It just drives me nuts. I can't pretend anymore.
Well, let me say this too. They have gotten there by being, cutthroat and all that, but they also make fucking amazing games.
They do. They're amazing. I get that. But that does, again, they can make amazing games.
That's their free pass right there.
They can make amazing games, and you can still be critical of some of the decisions they make from a business standpoint. Hell, on the Switch right now, there's no way to back up your saves. So if you broke your Switch tomorrow, Mitch, sorry, that Zelda save's gone. Any other major hardware manufacturer does something like that, people would uproar if that's Sony or Microsoft, but not Nintendo. The fact that the Switch doesn't even allow you to use Bluetooth headphones and you still have to use wired headphones for some fucking reason in 2018, in a handheld, I'm like, I can't even use my Bluetooth headphones. I said this on my trip home from Singapore. I lost my wire for my headphones, so they were only Bluetooth. And the only reason I brought my wire was so I could plug it into my freaking Switch. I lost it, so I couldn't hear audio on my Switch. Well, I could, because I finally asked the damn flight attendant for their stupid, uncomfortable earbuds. But it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Just dumb little things that just, and then maybe it irritates me more because I'm under a focus, because I seem to, maybe I'm being more reactive than I probably should, but I'm not on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, lovable bastards. I mean, what else can you say? They're like, God, I want to hate Nintendo so bad, but they're just so fucking cool. No, I mean, they really do make fucking amazing games. Look, I've enjoyed everything that I've played. Well, I mean, technically I've played 3 games on Switch so far, and 2 of them I've finished. And I mean, quote unquote, I love everything so far. I'm very impressed, and I really didn't have a huge expectation, because the only person I got my information from was you.
Well, and I probably did you a little bit of a service, because I still like the Switch. I've just went so hard into this, anti-Nintendo thing that I can understand it's probably getting exhausting, but like, I just want to see a little bit more in, like, down the center on some of this stuff of like you said, like, hey, they've kind of earned the right to be assholes in a lot of ways. I get that, but like,
well, we tolerate that because their games are fucking amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think their games are that amazing anymore. Is maybe the other part of it.
I really felt that way. I really felt while I was playing through the story mode in Mario, I was like, ooh, this is a dud. I was like, man, as far as system sellers go and shit like that, I'm like, that is not a system seller. This is just fucking ho-hum Mario, and I don't like it. And then it turned out I did like it, but I'm kind of in awe still. I'm really in awe of Zelda so far. I haven't really come across anything that I don't like, except for the storms every 5 seconds. Every time you blink, it's fucking raining. But yeah, that I don't like. But I still think except they gotta branch out. I mean, they did on the Wii U as well. I understand that, but I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes. I'm not like a huge Nintendo, like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what comes next. I'm like, look, the other game that I didn't even talk about this week that I picked up was the Wonder Boy 3 remake on Switch, which I was like, wow, that's fucking amazing. In my opinion, the best 8-bit game ever made, Wonder Boy 3. Mm-hmm. And it's ironic because it was from Sega Master System. It was the only rival they technically had back then. So that's kind of like a fuck you to Sega too, seemingly. But we'll talk about that some other time. I don't want to talk about that today. But I finished it, loved it. Discussion for some other time.
Sure. Let me just throw this out there. So just to again represent the business side of Nintendo, they sold 1.4 million copies of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, assuming at $60 because they'd never go on sale. And if they do go on sale, that's the retailer eating that sale price. They wouldn't have sold more copies had that been a $39 game, right? They sold it for what they knew they could get, and they sold a pile of them. You know, so I get it. I just, you know, again, it's just I'm sick of playing I'm just sick of playing that pricing game anymore with them, and I don't know. But you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, the minute Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze hits $40, I'll end up buying it. So
yeah.
But I'm not going to spend full price on those.
Well, I think you've got a unique perspective on some of the stuff too, and that kind of fucks you over sometimes. You know, like
unique's a nice way to put that, Mitch.
No, I mean it. Unique as in, you know, you really did buy all the Nintendo exclusive, like all the first party.
Well, even
stuff.
more. I think I've actually got like 55 Wii U games or something. At one point, I should just buy them all.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you should. So anyways, you've got that perspective, you know, your perspective when you're like, oh, I got tired of it with Assassin's Creed. Like, look, a lot of people played Assassin's Creed, and a lot of people have gotten tired of the same shit you got tired of. A lot of people played Skyrim, and, you know, basically that whole scenario. And you played so many fucking games, like modern games, you know, quote unquote. I don't even know what to define that as, but right. You really have. You've played more games than anybody that I've ever even heard of, to be honest.
Yeah. You know, and to that point, I think it would be, and so
it's given you it's given you like
almost a hypersensitive like outlook on stuff.
I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, eventually when you see, I got you. And so, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this to be condescending in any way, but there are probably a lot of Nintendo buyers, Nintendo consumers that maybe don't game on the PS4, don't game on the Xbox, but they love Nintendo and they buy Nintendo products. I get that.
I mean, you could probably put me in that spot. You know,
and
I'm more almost exclusively a retro gamer. So
there's that frame of reference. So I'm not just, I mean, in a lot of ways, I'm not telling people to really fuck off. I'm just trying to say, like, you know, I am not in that place right now, and I can't. And it's for me, it's exhausting to continue to read and listen to and hear on podcasts. And I'm not saying. This isn't a case of me going, people have other opinions, so I'm going to ignore those opinions because I don't have it in me to listen. That's not me putting my head in the sand. What it is me going, everybody has the same fucking take and the same justifications over and over and over. I get it. It's Nintendo. You're not going to criticize it. I'm going to move on to a different show. To the point that last week, I listened to probably listened to way too many video game podcasts too, that like I pared my playlist down to 2 podcasts. Mm-hmm. And I feel better because of it. So,
well, fucking A.
Anyway, so that's my rant. I haven't had a good one of those meltdown rants in a while. So
it wasn't really. It wasn't up to par with some of the meltdown rants that you had. Yeah, it was a good rant. I enjoyed it.
I think I said fuck only 3 times. So.
Oh yeah.
There's been some worse ones, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it was relevant. I mean, I don't think you're out of line in any of this stuff. I don't, you know, and I'm probably on the other side of the spectrum where I'm just, and again, because most of my stuff, look, I'm arcades, pinballs, and stuff like that. That's what I game on every day, all day, you know, for the most part. And I don't have a PlayStation 4. I don't have an Xbox One, nor do I want either one of them. So,
yep.
I've got the casual modern gamer thing going on right now, so I'm probably the opposite side of the spectrum, but I get your points. I think they're well articulated for the most part. So that's why that rant was unlike ones in the past as well. There was
some articulation to it instead of just profanity laced drunkenness.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Sure, that's what I'm looking to say. Yes.
Anyway,
so anyway, good conversation though. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely report back on the Zelda thing too. We had 1,000 things to talk about today, but
I'll have to go to look at the notes because it's good because then we'll have stuff for next week.
Yeah, because sometimes it's funny because we've said this before too, but when we went every week before, it was like, fuck, eventually you run out of stuff to talk about and you just kind of have to riff, and I don't think we've had to do that since we've come back.
No, it's fun.
So anyway.
But
yeah, man, let's call it a day at that one.
All right.
For the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast number 123, this is Mitch.
And this is Mike.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.